or standard form, which, whatever, doesn't give you a lot of information. You have to manipulate it to get information out of it. We have the ever-present that everybody loves, y is equal to mx plus b, the slope y-intercept form, because it tells you the slope and the y-intercept. The slope is m, the y-intercept is b. And then we have the point slope equation because it tells you and there you go. The point is x1, y1, and the slope is m. All right, so now we're going to be given information, and we have to generate an equation of a line, okay, from the information that we're given. You have 2 of these on your test, all right, worth 2 marks each. So here we go. We are given a point P and Q. P has the coordinates 3, -1, and Q is -2, -6. Determine the equation in general form of a line passing through the 2 points. So basically, you don't have to sketch it out, but if you want to, just for a visual, P is 3, -1. There's P. Q is -2, -6. There's Q. There's our line. Okay. Might as well mark this. -2, -6. There we go. I need the equation of that line. If I don't, they're saying in general form. We'll write it in all 3 forms after. Okay. Just for practice. But if I ask for the equation of a line, what's one piece of information you always need to know? The slope. You need to figure out the slope at some point. So you might as well do it right away. If you do it, you'll get a mark. Okay. How do I figure out the slope between 2 points? What formula do I use? Which is? Yeah. Nice. There you go. We have 2 points. So we're going to use this formula. Does it matter what you call set 2, set 1? Nope. So P will be set 1, Q will be set 2. So I'm going to go -6 minus -1. Remember, just watch your signs. That's the only tricky part about this. Over -2 minus 3. -6 plus 1 is -5. -2 minus 3 is -5. So we get a slope of 1. Round, simple number. Okay, I know the slope. All right. This is where you look at these equations up here. So I know the slope. What other pieces of information do I know? I know a point. I know 2 points, actually, but I know a point. So if I know a slope, I know the slope, and I know a point, which equation do you think you want to use? Exactly. It tells you, right? You might as well use the one that is point slope. Now, does it matter which point you use? It does not. So pick the one that, I don't know, you like better. If it has zeros in it, pick the one with zeros because stuff will just disappear. But in this case, there's no zeros. So which one do you want to use? What point do you want to use? You have a choice between this one or this one. Okay, P. So we go, here's our formula. And we plug everything in. Our slope is 1. There's our y1, -1, so it becomes y plus 1 because the sign flips. Our slope is 1, x minus 3. Okay, that is the equation in point slope form. How would you write it in mx plus b form? What would you do? Yeah, you're going to make the brackets disappear, right? So I'm going to multiply that in. So I get y plus 1 x minus 3. Multiplying the 1 in is kind of redundant, I guess. And then I subtract the 1, and I get y is equal to x minus 4. Does that sort of make sense? This equation, let's just look at this equation for a sec here. What does the negative 4 represent? Y-intercept. Looking at our graph, not that you had to sketch a graph, does it make sense that might be negative 4, the y-intercept? Yeah, because it's right here. There's 1, there's 6. It's in the right area. We just did a quick sketch, but it looks like it's okay. The slope is positive. Does that line have a positive slope? Yes, it does, because it's rising from left to right. So we are good. All right. And on a test, if I don't specify which form to give it to me in, either one of these is fine. Okay, I'm not going to ask you to write it in standard form, so you don't need to worry about that. Is that okay? All right. Here we go. Next one. Determine the equation in general form of a line that goes through this point and is perpendicular to the line with this equation. As soon as you see the word perpendicular, what is that yelling at you for? Yeah, and a negative. So we got to find the slope first, okay? This is saying find slope. So how do I find the slope from this line right here? What do I need to do? Yeah, you got to write it as y is equal to mx plus b, right? So I'm going to add 5y to each side and get that. What do I do then? Divide off the 5. Don't write anything as decimals, leave them all as fractions. Okay, so here's the equation of that line rewritten in mx plus b form. I want the slope of that line. So what's the slope of that line? Yeah. M is equal to 3 over 5. But we're looking for a line that is perpendicular to that line. So what do I do with the slope? Flip it and throw a negative. So the M perpendicular is negative 5 over 3. So there's my slope. You have to indicate somewhere along the line that you're getting the perpendicular slope. I don't care if you write M perp. All right. Okay. I have the slope. I have a point. Which equation are we going to use? Point slope. And then just plug everything in. Y minus 0 equal to okay, that's, I mean, y minus 0, nobody would write that. You would write that. So that's point slope form. If I wanted you to write it in mx plus b, what would you do? If I said write it like this, what do I need to do? Yeah, so you have to multiply this into here, right? So I would get negative 5 over 3x. What's negative 5 over 3 times negative 5? How do you multiply fractions? There you go. Because 5 is like 5 over 1. And when you multiply fractions, you multiply the tops and the bottoms. So that would give me positive 25 over 3, and you could just leave it like that. Okay? So find the slope. That's either going to involve using your point, the slope equation for 2 points. And then most of the time you're going to use the point slope because you will have a point, okay? And then you can rearrange that to get mx plus b. If they tell you you're perpendicular to some line, rewrite the equation of that line to get the slope and then flip it. Or if it's parallel, that means the slopes are the same, right? You always have to find the slope. That's your first, basically your first step in every question. If you do that and you don't do anything else, you'll get 1 out of 2. This is half the question being done, okay? Number 1, pick 3. I don't care which ones. Number 3, C and D, please.